Hi, Lucas.
Hi.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
It's beyond that you're actually here. You know what I did yesterday? So I got a text message from Amar, and
Do you have a
it said,
British accent?
"I fake it, honey."
Oh my!
Yeah,
Your
I do.
agent must
Oh,
be.
we never spoke English together.
No.
I used to live in. Well, let me just be. It's because of colonization, actually,
Is
from
it?
my home country. Yeah. So
Wow.
we speak British, and then I used to live in London a bit.
So I would
to
have
have that.
believed if you were to fake it.
Oh, I should fake it. I can fake it.
You should make it your story at least.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe I should have it as my
I
personality.
think so. Anyway, you were saying?
I don't know. What was I saying? Oh, I lost it. Anyways, you came from London yesterday.
Yes.
No,
this
not
morning.
yesterday. This morning. So, what is an average day of your life? What does it look like? So, Lucas wakes up. What does he do?
Well, I would love to give you an average day, but I don't think there is such a thing as an average day. Every day is very, very different. Yesterday, I had my last day in London, so I just came in this morning. I have been working with this new partner of mine, so we had 48 hours of workshops in London. But before that, I came from Paris, and before that, I came from my last ski camp of last winter, and then on Sunday, I'm going to Brazil.
So you just have a fabulous life, basically.
Well, I do like my lifestyle.
Yeah.
I would have wished for a couple more days
Calmer
with
days.
relaxation, but I wouldn't want to have it any other way. I love being out and about.
What do I've always wondered with you, what is it like being talented? Like, do you ever look at yourself in the mirror and just be like, my God, I'm talented?
First of
honestly.
all, I don't believe in talent. So I don't think
Okay.
that.
Why do you believe in talent?
Because, let me put it this way. I think talent can bring you, potentially, if there is such a thing as talent, to a certain extent, but it could never bring you to become the best in whatever you would like to become the best in. And my
Okay.
ambitions
Yeah.
are very clear. I try to become the best in the world in what I do. And talent cannot bring you there.
So you need talent and hard work.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I like to be in the mentality of talent not existing. I find it
Really?
destructive.
Do you find it more freeing? Like you don't have that burden.
I think I don't want to leave anything up to circumstances. I want to.
Oh, I love that. You want to be in control.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think with the belief and the mentality that talent can affect that, you've kind of accepted that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now it's then.
You take the easy way out.
I'm afraid so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if it does exist, I'm still going to be in the mentality of it
Okay.
not existing.
But so what have you won? Like gold? What is it called? You have
So we
sport.
have, World Cup is
World Cup, yeah.
a different format than a World Championship and an Olympic Winter Games, for example. So I participate both in Olympic Winter Games, World Championships. That's medals. Those are championships.
So when you win,
then
what do you feel? Like, do you feel like, oh, I got this shit?
Yes, 100. You feel on top of the world.
Oh, that's great.
And it feels like, so obviously there's no way I could ever describe what that feels like, but just imagine that it's this cocktail that you've been making your entire life that is made off of all your pain, all your sacrifice, everything that you've chosen away in order
Yeah.
to have
To
just
achieve.
the chance of achieving
Yeah.
what you are, as we speak, achieving. And you're just unleashing that in front of, so many people sharing that moment with you. It is.
That was
it
very
is-
beautifully
Yeah,
said.
it's
Yeah.
quite nothing like it. It's unreal. Yeah.
Is it addictive?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So does it mean that, is it kind of like drugs? You always want to get the high again?
No,
like,
100%.
Yeah.
Of course it is. It's like, from that season starts, it's every upcoming weekend is a new chance to feel that rush again,
Yeah.
that satisfaction, that high, right? So especially someone that's coming from extreme sports and action sports that I
Yeah.
do, it's an even bigger element on that, just on
shit.
top of the, adrenaline that just winning brings
Yeah.
you. It's also conquering the fact that you just put your health at risk. And I love that. It's beautiful.
Yeah. No, I don't even know. I can't imagine it because I'm so not interested. sports is out of my interest area.
No, but I think you
So is
can
this
relate,
the-
actually.
Yeah?
Because
How?
we did our runway together
Yeah,
at
yeah.
Copenhagen Fashion
Yeah.
Week. That's like being on the start line in literally.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm going to start saying I'm champion then.
Exactly. Own that. Own
Oh, that's
that.
crazy. Really?
I would-
I can't believe it. So you felt like, because,
It was relatable.
obviously, when I'm on the runway, you get the rush,
100%.
right? Because it's just a few seconds. You need to nail it. You need to kill it. It's all eyes on you.
It's just a completely different format.
Yeah.
But it's still that performance aspect to it in front of a crowd. You
And we
have
don't
to
have
deliver.
to work hard as you. I don't have to.
Well, I don't know. I would say that what models go through of adaptation of their health, their diets. It's so unknown for most. I would say
Yeah.
how hard that really is. I work, so thoroughly with diet, but on such a different way.
Yeah.
It's a whole lot more challenging than I think most people acknowledge.
But it's not a hard work.
It's different, I would say.
I don't think so. I think it's, because I've had like, I've done everything possible. I've been a seller. I've worked at customer service, been in healthcare. Modeling is the easiest job I've ever have to do in my entire life. Honestly, I don't think there's anything that can top how easy it is and how glamorous. And
I'm going to give you credit for being honest about that. I don't think many models
Yeah.
would be that. I
No,
think
because
people take a lot of sport in bragging about.
yeah, they do, because
Right?
also I think that they need to feel some sort of validation, like, oh my gosh, I work so hard, and that it makes you look good, because the same way like everyone else is thriving, is striving to make a living and to work hard. I mean, that is what our society wants, for us to work hard.
Yeah.
So if you are quite privileged person and you say, it's actually easy for me. I mean, I feel like I don't even use my brain half of the time. I just exist.
Well,
But that's the good part. Like, why do I have to use my brain? Why can't I just be beautiful and be done with it?
But honestly, I find it a bit relatable because
Yeah.
as an athlete, yes.
As someone who's handsome, you find it relatable.
I wish.
No, truly.
I do relate to it to some extent because as an athlete, yes, you work your ass off 24/7, 365 days a year. It's brutal. But though I wake up in the morning
Yeah.
during a winter, I am surrounded by the Alps. I call the Alps my office. I'm up at 6 a.m.
yeah.
I experience the sunrise before I get to spend what others spend in their office
Yeah.
doing what I love the most. And somehow I'm making a living off of it. Yes, it's hard work, but it's so
It's
important
privilege,
to
yeah.
appreciate and be grateful for how much of a privilege I
Yeah.
think both of our professions
Yeah.
give us. And it's.
That's a really good perspective to have.
I think it is. I
I
think it is.
actually never thought that the Alps was, even if I know what you do, I never thought of it that the Alps is actually your office.
That is crazy, no?
Yeah,
I
it
find
is.
it absolutely surreal.
Yeah.
I can't wait. The next time I'm going skiing is in quite a bit. It's in New Zealand.
Yeah. What?
Yeah, it's crazy, no?
How does that work? So it's indoors.
No. So in New Zealand, obviously the seasons are flipped, right? Because it's on the
Yeah.
other side of the world.
Yeah,
So when
yeah.
it's summer over here in Europe, you go over there, you're catching their end of winter.
They have winter?
yeah,
Does
yeah.
it snow there?
Yeah, it does. It
Oh, I
does.
had
And
no
it's
idea.
absolutely beautiful. And it's those mornings on the way up to, a mountain
Yeah.
as far away from home as it gets.
Yeah.
6 a.m. in the morning. And I'm just like, this is what I do for a living.
is my
It's
life, yeah.
absolutely surreal. Yes, there's countless of hours
Yeah.
in the gym and in media work that isn't the fun part. And
Yeah,
it's
the
and
assholes,
it's
yeah.
and it's being a public figure. It's
Yeah.
not being able to go out and just do whatever. It's all these things.
It's all these things, yeah.
Just how everyone else
Has
in
it. Mm.
every other profession has their things that they have to sacrifice. But at the end
But
of
what
the
is
day,
it
that's
for
your
you
office.
when the Norwegian media has been extremely, I think they've been critical of you because, you have been portrayed as the black sheep of the sport, right? Because the fact that I know who you are and I don't know
represents
sports.
that.
Yeah. No, honestly, because I thought I remember the first article I saw of you and I said, wait, first of all, he has great hair. And who is this guy that's causing all this trouble to these old white conservative Norwegians. I thought like, wow, this is amazing. This guy got balls. Like, I want to hear what he has to say.
Well, I think what I will say is that it's never been done with intention of stirring something. It's always just been me wanting to express myself and stand for the things that I want to stand for and that I want to represent. And I could conclude very early on in my career that will cause a lot of friction, to put it that way. But I think I've put that responsibility on myself to be honest and to be open about the things that aren't easy to be open about.
Yeah.
I feel like this is why I love being on this podcast right now, because I can talk to you about other things than the snow conditions and the weather. So what I think is important is that we've become such a specialist world. We become more and more specialists for every day that passes. The niches get stronger and stronger. So sports have obviously been so organized and put in such heavy systems with so much economy that it's like, I feel like a lot of athletes today might forget a bit the whole reason why they're able to live off of it. It's because it's pure entertainment in the end. The fact that I ski around red and blue plastic gates down a mountain doesn't change the world. It actually means nothing. But no, but it doesn't.
I know it means nothing.
No, but it actually it does not matter.
No, but it's cool of you to say it.
But what I can do is I do have the possibility of inspiring people from all over the world.
You can make something of it.
Because of the story that happened leading up to that day of the competition.
Yeah.
That's what I find beautiful with sports. And I think I just always wanted to show that side. And I'm passionate about that. And that's not for everyone.
Is it fearful because, I obviously what is it called? Like, who are your bosses? Like, not now, but back in, what are they called?
So
like
in alpine skiing, you represent your country, and your country always has a national federation.
Yeah.
And they basically put up the infrastructure of the team that you represent. So that's.
What does it feel like knowing? Were you a bit fearful knowing that you're going to go against the federation?
Yeah, it's not against the federation, but you're obviously not representing the same federation. You're representing a competitor of a federation, right? And I don't feel any. No,
at the beginning when you knew that this is not the way I want to do my, what's it called? Sorry, I know nothing of sports.
It's all good. It's all good.
So when you are, what's it called? Not your work, but like, so.
When you're an athlete.
Yeah. So you know that your way of doing things is quite different from them. And at some point, I assume you realized this is not the way I want to live my life, or this is not the way I want to do my work. And you know that you have to go against the guidelines. Was it fearful, and was it like a moment where you thought, I just have to pave my own way now?
100%. And it is intimidating standing for those things and knowing what that will cause a friction and that fight that you will have to put up to. And I just think it's so important for me to go to bed every night knowing that I am who I am 100%.
Oh, I love that. I chose to be authentic.
I think that comes at some cost.
Yeah,
it just does. And you need to, I think it's extremely important to agree with yourself whether you want to take that route or not. And if you do want to take that route on standing on your opinions and standing on business. That's fighting. Yeah.
Wow, it's very admirable. It really is, because it's so easy to think that we will all stand up for ourselves and we would choose to be our authentic self and choose our being. But when it comes down to it, it's always so easy to just go with the flow, right? And everyone who's always so naive, I feel an envy of them. Like sort of jealousy, like, oh, it must be nice to be stupid. And you're like, there's no critical thinking. You're just like, oh yeah, I'll just do whatever they say. This feels nice. Hee hee.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say that it's, something that has to do anything with intelligence. I think it's something that's.
Oh, definitely. Of course it is. I mean, you have to go through it with your mind, and then you need to check in with yourself. You go
But wouldn't you say that it's because of just based on the fact that it's borderline intimidating, that this is not something to do necessarily with intelligence, but more the straight fear and not wanting to put up with that fight, and you find that too scary to dare to do it.
I think the intelligence part for me comes the fact that you know it's fearful and you still decide to go through it, knowing that this is the risk and this is what the outcome can be, and you sort of evaluate it, and you still decide. Your mind is capable of thinking, you know what, if there's a tiny bit possibility that I can come out of this, and I'm myself, I'm authentic in who I am. I mean, that requires first of all a huge strength. And I think it's very telling of your mind and the capabilities that you have to come to that conclusion, because it's so easy to just sign the papers and go with the flow and not use a single brain cell and just be like, oh, okay, this is what has been the norm, this is the tradition, and I'm just going to go for it. I look at you as someone intelligent because of that.
It's an interesting perspective.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that.
Good. You should write that
I'll
down.
think about that.
And keep it as part of your talent.
I'll think about that.
Yeah. Okay. So, and then, because you have Brazilian, is that it?
Yes. So my mother is from Sao Paulo, as well as the rest of her families. I have my entire family from my mother's side, based in the state of Sao Paulo. Now they live in, just an hour outside of Sao Paulo. My mother herself actually lives in Christchurch in New Zealand, believe it or not.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then I have my Norwegian side, which is partly Swedish, over here in Norway. And I just...
Did you used to go to Brazil for holiday when you were young?
Yeah. So I went all the time. I went once a year for quite a long period of time.
Yeah.
At one time, I actually stayed and lived in Brazil for close to half a year. Went to kindergarten. I played in football clubs over there. And I was also introduced to my love for sports. And that was grown in the streets of Sao Paulo, playing football with my friends, my neighbors, and my cousins, basically.
Yeah.
So,
but it's odd that you didn't go with football then.
Because I did do that. That was my start.
Yeah.
But yes, I do find it crazy still to this day that that's not what I ended up with, because I was introduced just playing with my neighbors, my friends, my family, and I found the love over in that Brazilian culture and this like religious relationship to the sport, where it wasn't sports, it was just a part of life.
Yeah.
And so many of the Brazilian citizens' purpose are they're superstars within football. They give them hope in a way that I've never experienced in any other country. Yeah. That's how I was introduced to the beauty of sports. That's why I do believe I can have, to at least I would just hope to some extent, that type of inspiration to someone out there with how I choose to do my things, basically.
No, you're definitely giving sports a new point of view, because I've never looked at it that way. For me, it's just like people running around.
Right?
And sweating, and then they win something, and it's great.
Yeah.
Or I see them on ads in fashion
brands,
and I'm like, oh, what does he do?
Because they're taking over fashion these days.
So it's kind of like, but I never thought of the community work, because my daughter now plays football. It's I'm struggling. It's a difficult part of my life.
I know you are.
So and the fact that she actually is happy when she's doing it, and she gets so. Like she's looking forward to hang out with her playmates and stuff like that. And it's not just because her teammates are quite different from her classmates. I mean, so she has two different groups, and she seems more closer with the teammates because she achieves something with them. So their bond is much more closer.
How beautiful is that?
And it's so bizarre.
Like
it's so
her
interesting.
relation to her teammates is something that she can never have with her other friends outside of that community.
It's wild.
And that's so beautiful.
It really is. I never thought of it. And it made me think like, oh, maybe I should have done sports.
I must say, it's sports' greatest value that it does contribute to society is exactly what you just explained. It's that unity. It's that feeling of inclusion.
Yeah.
And gathering that community. It's beautiful.
So now you would, So now you're going to do it for Brazil. You're going to represent Brazil.
Yes.
Has there been anyone before you to do it?
There are Brazilian skiers.
Yeah.
There are. They're around all over the world, as Brazilians are all over the world, right?
Yeah.
There are some skiers at uni and like college level in the States.
Yeah.
There are some younger Brazilian alpine skiers sort of based in Switzerland. And then there are obviously in the Olympics, there are always a couple ones that goes, right, to represent our flag. And then, but it's, I mean, of course, it is an amazing opportunity for the first time in history that I think it's the third biggest Winter Olympic discipline, which is my sport, to be able to, bring the Brazilian flag and actually come in there as a threat for medals. That means a lot. And for me, it's not about the medal itself that makes it so special. It's more the fact that I have the possibility of introducing such a beautiful country to a sport that they weren't present in the same way before. And that is something that I take with a lot of pride. And I'm very, very proud to be able to have that possibility to do so. And then obviously that also comes with the fact that I'm now representing 200 million people and not 6, which is frightening
wild.
And feels like a huge responsibility. But I'm just going to try to convert that into the possibility that lies within that instead of the fear. Yeah.
It's mind-blowing that you're going to be paving the way for the whole Brazil almost, it feels like. It's mine.
I think what I want to leave my Brazilians with is that you can accomplish anything.
Yeah.
That is what I hope
and
my story can contribute.
And they're going to love
with.
you. Like the love that they give, it's like 200 millions more than what you get in Norway. I mean, they truly are very loving.
No, it's
what you said about their sports.
It's half of me.
Yeah.
It's half of me. It's always been. And I'm so shaped by the amazing upbringing that I've been able to have with the Brazilian influence in my background. And I feel like such a result and a product of just that. And I'm forever so grateful for that. I'm so grateful for my mother being so persistent on teaching me
the culture,
Portuguese. Portuguese is that's my mother language, by the way.
I love that. That's beautiful.
Yeah, it is, right? And
it's huge.
I'm so happy for that because
it's a huge market. Personally, I'm very excited about all the brand deals you're going to do and how amazing you're going to look on those campaigns. No, honestly. It's quite big. I mean, Brazil, it's like, you go to Fashion Week, and then you see the Brazilians. It's mind-blowing how many they are and how huge. It's like its own Earth. It's like its own planet.
And what's fun is that we all look so different.
Yeah.
It's so diverse.
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest joys and loves that I have for Brazil as a country is that when you walk the streets of Brazil and you see someone white, you see someone Asian, you see someone black, you see someone looking like yourself.
Yeah.
They're all Brazilians.
Right.
You can't, they're just as much Brazilians.
Yeah.
We're such a new country and we come from everywhere. And that brings such an amazing dynamic to every social situation that you're in. And I love that so much.
And I think it's really good for you to be in an environment in a country where they're open-minded to diversity and people looking different. So you don't have to be the black sheep anymore, basically.
I just what I wish for is that by the time that I have exited sports, maybe we see some more different looking athletes in our sport.
I think we have to force people to actually do it. I will force a few followers to start skiing.
Go ahead. Be my guest.
Because, as someone who grew up in Norway, I should have learned how to ski a long time ago. I really should have. But I learned it. So when I was 30 years old, I thought, you know what? I'm going to die soon anyway. So I need to learn something new. I've been here for 30 years.
It's meant to be.
What skill do I have?
It's meant to be.
So I thought, okay, let me learn how to ski. And
but we'll make it happen. We'll make it happen.
No, I know how to. We don't need to make it happen.
Okay. Okay.
You know the skiing
You're
that
just
I
stunning
do?
on the ski man here with your ski abilities. You just put some pressure on yourself, girl.
It's a vibe. It's a vibe because that's what I do. I don't I go there for the scenery. I go there for the vibes of it.
No, okay.
I'm not stressed.
No, that's fair.
Yeah,
that's
so
fair.
it's really good. But the one that I do is actually cross skiing.
It's nice. No,
Yeah.
it's nice.
Because I have no control. When I go down, and I hope for the best.
Yeah,
That's
it's
just what
crazy.
happens.
It's crazy. I find that more extreme than my own sport, honestly.
Really?
Well,
It requires more.
those small little planks, I have no control
Yeah.
whatsoever.
No. But you guys, it's like watching a beautiful dance. The way you go like shoo, shoo. Like,
Well, that's what it feels like,
crazy.
right? That's what I feel like. And I just feel like my responsibility is as best as possible to try to bring that feeling of dancing down the mountain
Yeah.
to that eccentric crowd that has made
Yeah.
their way up to the Alps to enjoy ski racing,
it.
to put on a show, to put on that piece of entertainment that they're all waiting for. You know, that's my mission. That's the beauty of entertainment.
It really is. Looking at it, it's like a swan. It's like, shoo, and then you guys.
It feels like it. It feels
Yeah.
like it.
It's great. Oh shit! We didn't talk about fashion.
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh my God, of course. I thought that's actually what I was going to talk about when I mentioned that I'm excited for the campaigns you're going to do. What fashion, if you were to, you can pick and choose basically, any brand that you would want to work with, and you see, because you have like now, most of these athletes, they all, you see them going to the basketball court and they're dressed head to toe in a brand. They cannot wear the clothing to save their lives. It looks like a catalog, a mannequin, just pull them and then you get out of the bus, go into the whatever they need to be in.
Yeah.
But you pull it off so insanely because you can see your personality through what you're wearing. I mean, just look what you're wearing right now. What did you put paint on your jeans? You know what I mean? It's things like that.
No, well, for me, it's like fashion is the polar opposites of my everyday, which is sport. Sports are literally measured on a clock.
Yeah.
You know, it's black and white. There's no beating around the bush.
Yeah.
It's not subjective at all. Whereas fashion is nothing but that, right? There is no judgment. There is no contest. There is no winners.
Yeah.
Which is why I've grown to love it so much because it's such an important contrast in my life to be surrounded in those environments that allows you to not be judged on 100th of a second. And that basically being the make or break, whether you're getting to put money on your table or not, you know? And that's the beauty for me, right? It's that encouragement and allowance to just be different, and there's no winner or loser with that. So for me, it's like, I want to work in all types of ways.
Yeah.
But I could see myself for hiking, apparel, sports brand, technology, but I would obviously like to challenge myself in the world that I come from by being put on a runway, right?
Exactly,
that's what I loved with that first experience. It's like, I've always wanted to be that person that can do so much. And for every time that I get pitched something that is as far away from what I've already done, that catches my interest. That catches my interest more than anything. No, so, what I will say is like, I'm down for whatever can challenge something in some way.
And something that can spark something within you.
100%, because it's a challenge for me. And it's like, I know it sounds crazy, but like, I want to look at myself as an artist and not an athlete, because I think it allows me to have a different mindset to my competitors, because I look at this as a possibility to express myself through the way that I want to move, the way that I want to entertain people, instead of just getting that result that is demanded by sponsors or the expectations from media or whatever. And that just allows me to have a completely different relationship to that. And that's very much inspired by my inspirations within the fashion world. It's like, I read more about the biographies of creative directors and founders of fashion labels than I probably do with athletes, which I find a bit like funny. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And you'll always find something within their story or methods that is so relatable and that you can put into your own path as an athlete. And I just feel like, I live by this one theory where it's like, in order to become better than others, you have to do it differently.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
So shouldn't I also try to find those inspirations behind my methods and my tactics from different sources than the others? For me, it makes crystal sense, but obviously it makes no sense at all that I'm like reading Miuccia Prada's biography, and I'm kind of putting that into like, I need to have a conversation with my staff members about this new philosophy that I was just introduced to and see if we can implement that in our way of me trying to become the best skier. I just find that fascinating, but it makes sense as much. It's extremely benefiting to be able to not put yourself in a box and contain that. You get more from it. Because I look at life as you collect experiences as you go. And the more experiences you have and the wide range of experiences, it's more fulfilling life. Because I used to work at elderly care, and when you're on your deathbed, the most happiest seniors were the ones who lived a very fulfilling, different lives, and the ones who did what they wanted to do. But for those that sacrificed their personal happiness and their what's it called, like their spirit to just be whatever that they were told to be, they were tortured by the end of it. Because imagine you're stuck. You cannot. When you're young, you can move around and you have the time to do whatever you want. But you come to a certain stage of your life where this is your room. You're confined to this area. You cannot get up because you don't have the health and you're too old. You're 85, 86, somewhere in their 90s. And to not be haunted by the life that you have lived or could have lived. I think it's such an admiring thing that you see yourself as the spirit that you are. And you're very layered. And I believe all humans the human experience is quite complex. So you're doing yourself a favor by trying to explore each layer and to see, what can I get out of life and what more can I achieve? I couldn't agree more. And I think it kind of goes back to this conversation that we just had. And I feel like what you should remind yourself when you do think that it's scary to take that leap of faith and go in your own path, which we all face, right? So you have to remember, imagine the amounts of people in the world that doesn't have the privilege of having the chance to actually do what makes them happy.
Yes.
If you are one of those people that have that privilege, you actually...
You owe it to humanity to do it, basically.
That's my point of view.
Oh my God. That has just unlocked, because I have become so privileged that I think this is something that everyone has.
It isn't.
Yeah.
It's the richest... It's the richest privilege that exists.
It really is.
And you don't think about that. And it's so important. And that's a thing that I've reminded myself, hence your question earlier. Is it fearful to stand on business and stand in that room and just go into that fight instead of just pulling out and just accepting it?
Yeah.
I'm one of these privileged people.
Yeah.
That have the possibility to actually take action on this. I owe it to myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Whoa, that just unlocked the whole thing in my head. That was beautiful. Holy shit.
No, it's important. It's important. It's not given.
Really no, it's not given.
It's not given.
And it's so odd. It makes you think more of the human experience, because as someone refugee, I should know that shit. You know what I mean? Like, I know my parents gave up so much so that I could have more, right? My grandmother gave up a lot so my mother could have more. And my mother has sacrificed and worked hard so, I could be here and sit on this podcast. You know what I mean? But we're just so used to life. Life happens. And then you think, like, you don't think of the fact that we live in one of the richest countries in the world. And it is a given. And it is a huge privilege to be able to just say, this doesn't work for me. How about I try this? But even if we're privileged, our soul always wants to be comfortable. That's the human nature. Our brain doesn't want to go discomfort.
Of course.
So if you can choose between two things, your mind's going to pick the comfort one. So you have to have a level of self-awareness and self-control to be able to say, no, I'm going to choose the discomfort and hope for the best.
Yes.
So I can have a more fulfilling life.
And it's like the only thing, at least in my opinion, that I know results in progress is discomfort. Yeah. So if you're looking for progress to gain that comfortability that we're all looking for, the payment is discomfort.
Yeah, it is. You got to get out of your comfort zone.
It really is.
And I've noticed, sometimes where there is, because The same way you don't believe in talent, I don't believe in failure. I don't believe any human being. I think the failure is when you don't try.
I like that.
I hate that because I try so many different things. I change path of, my careers or my personal life or whatever it is. If things doesn't work out for me, I like to try new things. And I've noticed that every time I do it, you have conversations with people, especially people who don't know you that well, but they have access to you. So it's like a friend of a friend or acquaintances or whatever they are. And they always view it as a failure. And I just think... failure is you haven't done shit in your entire life. You haven't tried anything. You're calling me a failure because I moved there and I tried this. Or, for me, it's just so beyond. And I think there's so many possibilities that you didn't explore.
Yeah.
Because you chose not to, and you're privileged.
I could not agree more.
Yeah.
I could not agree more. It's like what you call failure is what I call richness. It's like all my failures have resulted into me becoming who I am in this couch sitting here talking to you today. It's like I'm a product of all those failures because all those failures are those lessons that allowed me to progress and become that 1% better. And, it's like, it's funny because I consider myself rich. I'm a rich person.
Yes.
I know
Same
people
here.
From all around the world.
Yeah.
I can go to so many cities and I have friends that I can crash at.
Yeah.
All of these friends, they can contribute into a completely different perspective because they come from a completely different culture than myself. They do a completely different profession.
Yeah.
And it's just like, on a personal level, I am who I am.
Yeah.
But professionally, I'm also the athlete that I am.
Right.
Because of
Who you are as a
exactly
person,
this. And that caused a lot of failing. But that's richness.
It really is. And I think a lot of people forget that, sometimes I do think of it. Because the work that I do, my face is out there, right? So when someone sees, they always think, oh, you're self-made. And they forget the kindness that people have showed me, the love that people have showed me, and the support that I have that made me able to stand here. And that can come from the management, and it can be from your friends, or it can be just a kind person that has shown you kindness. And it's all these things that build up to the existence of me or you. Do you know what I mean? So I think a lot of the times, one time I was talking to a journalist, and she asked me about success. And the success, the way they defined it, would have been sort of like, okay, so if you get this Vogue cover, would you say, would that be the it for you? Would that be like, oh, great, I have made it?
Would that be your definition of success?
Exactly. And then I thought that was mind-blowing because I've always felt successful. And I've never doubted that I don't have success. And I surely do not need an institution to tell me I'm successful. That is such a disservice to the soul that I am, the spirit that I am, right? You are demeaning me, you're degrading me into being this one tiny thing. And it's just like, but what about everything else that I am? Or what about everything else that has led to my life? So you think... So for her to sit there, in her mind, this is her thought process, that you think I coming from the refugee camp and the people that showed my family kindness, that fed my family, and my parents' hard work to get us from that situation to here, that's not successful. Being able to come to Norway, a foreign country we have nothing in common with, and my family survives, that's not successful. And you go to uni, you do this, none of that is successful.
But your Vogue
and
cover
all the love, they're successful too. Let's get that straight. No, but I still think, I still think like life is, so what happens if you don't get a Vogue cover? Is my life over then? I mean, it's such you're limiting yourself and you're putting your soul in these little frameworks, and you lose out on so much.
100%. And I also think that what you consider or what you define success as has such an effect on how you choose to develop.
Oh, yeah.
And this is it ties into this conversation because if success for you is that Vogue cover, I truly believe that you actually have less of a chance
of getting it.
I do think so.
I do too.
I do think so because I think if you're doing it for reasons that are purposeful,
Yeah.
and you're doing it for you.
Yeah.
You're not doing it for the editor of that
Yeah.
magazine or that creative director at your favorite brand
Yeah.
or whatever. That's you showing your difference.
Right.
That's you showing how unique you are. That's the only possibility you have of showing your true colors.
Yeah.
That is what I hope results if Vogue is what you want to end up on the damn cover. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what
But
you
it's really
mean.
like that.
So you live for more.
Yeah, but that's what it comes back to a bit about, let's say, all the friction that maybe I've experienced in sports
Yeah.
and whatnot. I needed to keep doing it for me.
Right. So you
Not
keep your
for-
intentions pure.
Exactly. That's really what it all comes down to. So that's why it
really
was
does.
really important for me to say I've never done anything for friction,
Yeah.
for stirring the pot.
It just happens to be so. Right. Wow.
And there's consequences to that.
Of course there is.
And that's how it is.
Yeah, that's how it
That
goes.
is tough.
But I think if you are going to, if you're going to choose the divine you and go for the spirit that everyone is, you have to take the consequences of those that don't view life the way you view it, right? Because, you know, if you going against whatever guidelines they've said, it affects their numbers. And some people, that's what they do. So for you to be able to say, you know, I choose me in this stance, and I will always choose me and my happiness. Because you know what happens is, I think if you were to lose everything, so to speak,
Yeah.
I think you would have been just equally as happy and as content with life,
Yeah, I truly think so.
right?
And I think
Because that's what I feel from you.
yeah, and that makes me happy.
Yeah.
If that is true, that makes me super happy
Yeah.
because that's my goal. It's like, and I actually feel like that decision that I did of stepping away from the sport last
Yeah.
October is like a proof of that. Like I
Right.
was willing to step away from what I have dedicated my entire life to because I genuinely thought that this was my path now.
Yeah.
Regardless of the fact that the last time I skied a race, I became the world's best in it.
Right, yeah.
Or despite the fact that I was in very lucrative long-term
Yeah.
endorsement deals, or the fact that I was 23 years old,
You did, yeah.
it felt right for me. And it's like, I'm super proud of that decision. I'll always remain so proud of that decision I made there.
Absolutely. And you should be.
And the reason I'm sitting here today in a situation where I feel very content
Yeah.
with now having the possibility of representing my other half and this
Yeah.
next journey that I'm going on is because of that reason.
Yeah.
That allowed me to sit here today, and
You do.
I love that.
And there's all these people that we meet, you know, that are extremely successful, and they are like in the term of like people view them as successful, and they are defined by the positions they have in the society. Because what happens is one day you're not going to be the president anymore, and there are certain privileges and there are certain feelings that come with being a president, and that come with having that position in society, whether you are, you know, the highest paid model or you're the, you know, the best actor and whatever it is. And when they don't have that anymore, they become so pitiful. So that whatever they used to have, that people used to admire, you lose it because now they're just pathetic. And it's like you had a great time, and it doesn't take away what you have achieved,
I know.
but have some dignity, have some soul to be able to say, you know what, I had a damn good run at this life.
Yeah.
And that time is over. Now I'm going to do something completely different. And you see it like whenever it's quite visible in the celebrity life, right? So, you know,
course.
you grew up with someone and they're whatever talented, and you look at them and you get these things where like, oh no, they're losing it. And I've always wondered why that is. And then you look at it from the perspective of what are they defined by, and how do they define success? How do
Yes.
they define their whatever they have achieved in
Yes.
life? But if it has always been from outside factors, then you will never be satisfied. It needs to come within, so you can be able to.
And this all comes down to, what do you define as success?
Yeah.
Because that changes your way of life completely. And it, you know, it comes full circle with, okay, what happens when you're not in the spotlight
Yeah.
anymore? Nothing really.
Right.
It's just an end of an era.
It's just an
But you're
end.
still you.
Yeah.
You're still those qualities. You're still,
But you know, there are some people who cannot even sit with their own thoughts, that have to be constantly entertained or constantly to be with other people. So if you haven't, because it is work You have to put in the work,
Of course.
to be able to live with yourself. And like you said earlier, like whenever you go to bed, at the end of the day, you want to be able to say, yeah, I am me. And I've done everything I can to be me.
Yes.
But that is work. That doesn't come up like you don't wake up one day and get everything.
That is a journey.
Within yourself.
That is a journey. It's about being comfortable in your own presence.
Yeah.
It's about daring to be with yourself for more than just an afternoon.
Yeah.
And not find that frightening.
I know. And confronting your demons.
Right.
However they
Right.
look like or what they are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's when you've grown a healthy relation, a proactive relationship
Right.
to just that. Because I used to be that person, you know.
Yeah.
I'm an extremely social person.
Yeah.
I love to be around people, and I still do. But over the last 3 to 4 years, I've grown a completely different relation to the balance
Yeah.
of that. In order to still enjoy that social stimuli, I
Yeah.
also need the contrast of being alone and actually processing
Yeah.
all the impressions that I'm so privileged to be able to have every day with traveling the world every single day. Because I came to a point where I hit the wall because I didn't process anything.
Yeah.
So I just met people
It
from
just goes
all.
from one next thing to another.
So at some point, you know, I just found myself just, I mean, it sounds like a bit brutal, but I was just hating people.
Yeah.
I came into a room and I was just like, I hate the fact that I'm here.
Yeah.
What everyone's saying, I can't even digest it. I was full, you know, I was literally full.
Yeah.
And that became such a, you know, it's such a painful thing to acknowledge, but it resulted in such a beautiful journey
Yeah.
of forcing myself to be alone. I went on solo trips. I started meditating out of that. And
Oh, what is your meditation like? Sorry, I didn't cut you off.
yeah. So I was introduced through grounding meditation, which is
What is that?
It's a very opposite form of meditating, like wanting to find the, let's say, disconnect with yourself, loosening your thoughts. It's very opposite. It's actually being as present
Oh, okay.
as you could possibly be.
Yeah.
I mean, I can give, you know, the first introduction. I met this woman, Dacine. Dacine, if you're watching this, I love you. She changed my life. This woman, I met her in Tulum
Yeah.
in Mexico. She introduced me to grounding. We went to her apartment in Tulum. We were just above the trees, and we were out on her terrace. And I'm sitting on a chair. She's with me, but I can't see her, but she's with me behind me.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting, and as opposed to normal meditation, you have to keep your eyes open. So you have to be super present,
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
which is so different,
Yeah.
right? And it's like, okay, now we're going to address everything that all your chakras represent.
Okay.
And we're not going to leave those conversations until we've come to a conclusion. And we're going to be present, and we're going to address them. And we're going to find a healthy and sustainable action plan without filter, without hate, without resentment to personal relations, to your ex-girlfriends or
shit.
whatever.
Yeah.
And you're just filter free. And I sat there for 1.5 hours. I was laughing. I was crying. I was in all types of states.
Yeah, you went through the whole spectrum.
And that was a very beautiful introduction to the importance of spending time alone, fighting
shit.
your demons, as you say,
But
in a healthy way.
So what's happening is she asked you speak with her about it, or
So
how does it
she would
work?
be, so actually none of us are speaking. This sounds so,
Oh, okay.
but she's behind me. She says, okay, we're entering chakra
Yeah.
number X.
Yeah.
And this represent, for example, body-mind connection.
Yeah.
Or this other chakra represents personal relations. So when we enter a chakra, she will basically just say, let's go.
Release, yeah.
And she won't talk. And I will just have an internal conversation with myself, which in the only possible way I can describe it, it's like you basically have the most effective and constructive conversation with yourself that you've ever had.
Right.
And then you run through the emotion that it brings you. For example, with personal relation, I had a really tough time after I was very hurt with how this one relationship ended at the time. I thought I was going over it because this was over a year after.
Right, yeah.
And this was really my closure of
Oh,
just
shit,
this. I just
yeah.
teared out for like 5 minutes. And then she's with me in all these conversations, even though we're not talking, which
Yeah.
is the
It's the
insane part of
presence
it.
her, yeah.
And whenever I've had that conversation, I've come
Yeah.
to a conclusion. She knows when I'm ready to go. So she'll just go, okay, Now we're proceeding. Well done. And
That's
this is the
insane.
next chakra. This is what it
Yeah.
represents. Let's go. And then next
And then
roller
you go
coaster.
into the next one.
And then we spend the next 1.5 hours after the session.
Yeah.
And we have a conversation about all the conversations
You
I
need to
had
give
with
me her
myself.
number. That's what I'm
Sure,
thinking.
I
Yeah.
will. Right now she's
Wow.
relocated to Hawaii. So that's where you had to go now.
Oh, bless her soul. Oh
I'll
my
give her a
God.
number.
Yeah. So how do you keep it up? How do you maintain it?
And so we've had a couple of sessions ever. It's not something that I'm able to do a lot because it's so
Of course, it's draining.
heavy. I mean,
Yeah.
you need a couple of days off after a session
Yeah.
like this. So it's extremely demanding. You're physically and emotionally broken down.
Yeah.
Even though it's a lot of positivity as well in these sessions,
Yeah.
it's just so demanding because you're cutting all filters within yourself. The pure truth on all these different topics it's so much to process.
Yeah.
And then you need some time alone afterwards to just digest everything
Digest it, yeah.
and make an action plan on actually how you want to change this in your everyday life.
Yeah.
And then you return. And then that's a better version
That's
of
a better
yourself,
version of
right?
yourself.
So that's
It's very hard when you've been like, I struggle with putting down this. I'm constantly on survival mechanism. And even if I am comfortable and I have nothing to worry about, it's been such a constant emotion that no matter what happens, I still feel that I need to be in caution.
Yeah.
Right. So I think the way you explained it, it seems like all those barriers are down.
Yeah,
And you're extremely
100%.
vulnerable. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's all these things of like, let's say what you're addressing is a relationship that went bad and,
Yeah.
you have all this jealousy and you have all these things that you've concluded with yourself because it's an
Build up,
easier
yeah.
way to tackle what just happened.
is,
And the
yeah.
fact that you parted ways doesn't exist in these conversations.
Right.
You're purely coming into this conversation from a point of love. You're seeing both sides all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Even though it did, in my example, didn't
Yeah.
end in a faithful way.
Yeah.
Even then, it's
then
like
it's still-
I was able to just come in there and just find I was really just not the right one. I
Yeah.
didn't give this woman what she was
was
seeking
requiring,
for
yeah.
herself. Yes,
And
she
you find your closure for yourself without having to involve,
exactly. And it's just like
that's shit ton of work. I can't
it
even,
is.
right?
It is. That's why it's so demanding. But when you come back from it, it's like, oh my God, I'm such an upgraded.
Version of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's very beautiful.
That's a cool journey. It's an amazing journey. It's so fascinating.
Right.
So ever since, I mean, this is 3 years ago at this point or something. It's
It's a great tool to have. I think there's a lot of people who should benefit from, it's very easy to evaluate and to look at your life out of, what you have achieved and what you got, because some goals are so tangible and they're very easy to cross and
Yeah.
it makes you feel good instantly.
Yeah.
But then you go around ignoring the soul for so much. You never fully get to the level that you could be.
Yeah.
You don't get your potential because you don't dare to look inward.
Yeah.
And that is what I do to survive.
Because
you know
you're
what I mean?
shelling yourself
Yeah.
for those very difficult
Yeah.
conversations. Because yet again, it's like it is easier to take that
Right?
that
Route.
that shortcut to get through something that is
Right.
challenging your mental state.
And especially when we have the life that we have is so fast paced, you don't get, if you have 3 days, you're gonna face your demons for those 3. You're gonna sleep and eat and do all these things.
That is the big
but-
difficulty that I find myself
Yeah.
facing, and that I definitely haven't been able to maintain good enough the last year, especially with all the chaos that's been in my life, which
Yeah.
has been, to an extent that I've
Yeah.
never had to deal with.
Yeah.
There hasn't been room to treat these
Yeah.
things on a healthy way because, as you're saying, when you do find those 48 hours, it's
Yeah.
like, if there's anything I don't want to do right now is be present with myself and face these things.
I know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is a shame.
get
And I
you.
need to find some
Yeah.
time very soon to get away from
Especially
everything.
before you embark on your amazingly journey that's
Yes,
coming.
very
right?
much so.
Yeah.
So I am looking to have next week in Brazil, going to Rio
Yeah.
to spend some time for doing just that. So I'm
That's
very
amazing.
looking forward to that. Yeah.
Well, I've learned so much. I am.
Me too.
I'm
Me
very
too.
excited to have you as my colleague in fashion. Honestly, because we need more people that have these unique experiences that we can learn from. And I think as an industry, you, especially when we do storytelling, that's how I view fashion.
Yeah.
So if everyone has the same point of view in life, you're not going to be able to relate to the people, and you're not able to tell your stories,
Yeah.
because the people, you're telling the same thing again and again, and
Yeah.
you're not going to reach a wider audience.
Yeah.
So I think it's an extremely gift that you even bother, because you don't have to.
No,
right?
no.
So I think it's amazing that you, as successful as you are, that you still think, you know what, actually, I think I could do something in fashion, and is a way to express myself, and I have something to bring, and I have something to say. And then you choose to be vulnerable, and you choose to not just have clothes thrown at you, because that is easy. But then you think, yeah, I would like to wear a skirt. Yeah, I like to do nail polish. Why not?
But that's what I admire about yourself in that industry that does it full time. It's like your mission is so much more than catching that next cast.
Yeah.
It's so much more than also being able to hit that runway. It's like when you go onto runway, it's all the things that you stand for in all of your articles, your issues, your social media posts.
Yeah.
You bring that onto the runway also. And it's just like, just how so many others are also able to do that in their own way. And it's just like, we just need to encourage the fact that these differences actually come into the industry and get exposed, because that is the beauty at the end. That is why this is beautiful.
Right.
And it's like, it is, as you're saying, no, I didn't have to do it, but it's like, I did look at that as such a healthy challenge for myself, because let's face it, I'm not coming in here, with the physique to have anything to do on a runway or in a fashion show, no pants. Why do you think I wear baggy pants? It's like, they don't fit properly on me the way that they should. I'm an alpine skier. I have a huge calves and quads and glutes, right? It's like, I don't fit in, but I loved coming to these, like my first fashion weeks. I remember, you know how you go alone on your first time, and it's like, went without manager, didn't have anything. You pull up, and you're just surrounded by like all these superstars, like left and right. That's so supposed to be there.
Yeah,
and that's the reason I looked at it as such a challenge.
Yeah.
Is because I knew how little I belonged in that room. So I was just like, instead of coming into that room to be like, oh my God, why am I here?
Right.
It was a challenge to be like, look at what I'm contributing with into this room. Because for me, I was like, who else here can ski down a mountain in 150 kilometers an hour? I'm like, if that's my perspective going in here, and I'm able to withhold that for the rest of this evening, that's my win for the day.
Right.
That's me progressing. So that's how I looked at it, and I found that itself to probably be the challenge that actually introduced me to fashion, because I knew that winning that would make me better in sports somehow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's all connected.
No, exactly. Exactly.
It's a beautiful way of looking at it. It really is. Because the more unique people we have, the better all our lives are going to be.
More perspectives are introduced, right? The more, the wider we all become.
Yeah.
It's.
So I, for one, are very grateful. And it's an honor to know you, truly.
Likewise. Likewise. Let's show our differences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, dear.
Likewise.